Coming your way on the docket for today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we're going to talk Dalvin Cook after he got released by the Minnesota Vikings. Nick Sirianni talked DeAndre Hopkins today. Jalen Hurts making even more progress this offseason. Can he get even better? And Quez Watkins. When Nick Sirianni was asked about who the most impressive player has been throughout this offseason, he said Quez. Before we begin, though, really appreciate it if all of you give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I put all my shows on social media, a lot of my clips. I'm also really into health, wellness, fitness, but also here at Chat Sports, I cover all 32 teams across the NFL. I lead our NBA content and do some college football stuff as well. Don't be afraid and don't be shy to hop in my DMs and say what's up. I will respond. So Tom Pelissero with this early this morning on this fine Thursday that the Vikings and four-time Pro Bowler Dalvin Cook are parting ways per source. He's been one of the NFL's most dynamic playmakers. He's coming off a fourth straight 1,000-yard season, 52 career touchdowns. Now he'll be a free agent at age 27. He will have multiple suitors. Adam Schefter with this, that the Miami Dolphins and Denver Broncos are two of the teams that are expected to have an interest in signing Dalvin Cook once he is officially released. There likely will be others, but those two have been monitoring him for weeks. Albert Breer, the Vikings have informed Cook they're moving on after efforts to find a middle ground failed. They'll wait and see if a suitable last-minute trade offer does come along. They'll cut him if one does not. Timing on when they'll actually waive him is TBD. So I highly doubt that teams knowing that the Vikings have no leverage, they don't want to keep him because he's too expensive, they just gave a new deal to Alexander Mattison, are going to trade for a player that they know they can get on the free agency market and get on a refreshed contract. My initial thought with Dalvin Cook, because a lot of people have asked me this on my social media pages, Chase, do you think the Eagles should sign Dalvin Cook? Do you think that it makes sense? Let me say this right now. The Eagles do not need Dalvin Cook. It's really that simple, and I wouldn't do it. I think they're stacked at running back, and I think DeAndre Swift is a better running back right now than Dalvin Cook. Might be a hot take. That's my opinion, though, and I'm entitled to it. Rushing yards over expected for Dalvin Cook. He was not good in this category last year. He had the most 1-yard rushes among all running backs in the league last year, minus 0.16. That is not good. And the years before that, you can see that he was a lot better than that. But he is coming off his fourth consecutive 1,000-yard season. And last year for that Minnesota offense, he was pretty good. Average yards per carry at 4.5, had 8 touchdowns, his most since 2020, 1,100 yards on 264 carries. You look at what he did in 2020, 1,500 yards with those 16 touchdowns. In the year before that with 13 tutties. The production has certainly been there for Dalvin Cook, but the Eagles don't need any more production from that running back room. And I think Cook is going to go somewhere where he can cash in one final time. He's 27 years old. He's been utilized a lot with Minnesota. He's been a little bit banged up. There's some tread on those tires. And DeAndre Swift, he's only going into year 4, going into a contract year. I think Rashad Penny, if he stays healthy, can be the LeGarrette Blount for this team that Blount was in 2017. Kenneth Gainwell was a baller last year in the playoffs, and I like Boston Scott, the giant killer. DeAndre Swift is a better running back than Dalvin Cook at this point of his career. He's younger, he's been utilized less, and I really like his production as a runner, but also as a pass catcher as well. DeAndre Swift led all running backs in yards per touch last year. And while he hasn't necessarily put it all together in his career so far, the production for when he has been utilized has been very good. The knock on Swift, he's been a little bit injury prone. That hasn't kept him from playing games, but that's why he has been used as a workhorse back. But yards per carry, certainly there, 5.5 last year, 99 carries on 542 yards, and he is a home run threat on the ground, between the tackles, out to the perimeter, but also through the aerial attack as well. And he's more versatile than Dalvin Cook and cheaper than Dalvin Cook is going to be. I like the makeup of this Eagles running back room here because you have a couple of different options and you have guys who offer you a lot of different versatility. For instance, dual threat guy in Swift, a smaller but versatile back in Gainwell who picked up some momentum in the playoffs last year. You have the bruiser in Rashad Penny. Then you have the special team ace, returner / goal line, short yardage, shorter back who can kind of fulfill that Darren Sproles role in Boston Scott, who's been an awesome story to start his career and is low-key an Eagles legend over the last few years. So the Eagles, do they need Dalvin Cook? Do they not need Dalvin Cook? You tell me. Play the role of Howie Roseman. Get in those shoes of the Eagles general manager. N for need, D for don't need. Voice your opinions on this. Nick Sirianni on DeAndre Hopkins. He was asked about D-Hop on the final day of Eagles OTAs on Thursday, and he said, I love the room that we have. Howie is always looking to improve this roster, but I am very pleased with that room. He then said, never say never. I think the likelihood of D-Hop to the Eagles is extremely low. I think that D-Hop is going to go to a team that can pay him more, in which he has more of a role, where he can be utilized more as a wide receiver 1 and less as a wide receiver 3. The thought of D-Hop in the slot with Smitty and A.J. Brown is great, right? But from a money standpoint, from a fit standpoint, there's only one football to go around. I just don't think it makes sense, and I don't think the Eagles need DeAndre Hopkins either. Just like I like the makeup of that running back room, I like the Eagles wide receivers as well. A.J. Brown broke the record for the most receiving yards in the history of the Eagles last year. Devontae Smith set the record for the most receptions in a season for the Eagles with 96. Olamide, Zaccheaus, Quez Watkins, whether they're wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 respectively, both of them pretty good options for where they are on the depth chart. And then the backups like Charleston Rambo impressing some people, Devin Allen as well. So I'm interested to see what happens with the depth guys. But the top 4 here, I'm content with it. When the Eagles make a move, make sure you subscribe to the show because we cover it. I do think there are still moves in store externally, but also internally as well. And we'll dive right in. Subscribe, Go Birds, for daily and year-round Eagles coverage right here on Eagles Now. I'm Chase Sr. BetUS is our sportsbook partner here at Chat Sports, and if you sign up with them using that link down below, chatsports.com/EaglesBet, as well as the promo code Eagles125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. What that means is you put in $100, you get $125 back. Really great deal. Finals MVP odds if you're into basketball, because we could start to take a look at some of the future bets in the NFL here over the next few weeks. But right now, in full session for the NBA Finals, Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Butler, Jamal Murray, Bam Adebayo, and Gabe Vincent in the mix there. Nick Sirianni was asked about Jalen Hurts today, and he said some awesome things about his franchise quarterback. He said that he's made another jump with his accuracy, he's making strides with his decision-making, and he has had a great spring. And I've posed this question a couple of times here because I think it's a pretty good talking point here on the show. Like, Jalen Hurts was great last year, one of the best single seasons for a quarterback in franchise history, second in MVP voting to Patrick Mahomes, monster jumps in his accuracy from year 1 to year 3. The deep ball accuracy, I think, has always been underrated. Is there a better quarterback in there than what Jalen Hurts showed last year? Is there another leap that he can make? Are there more improvements that Jalen Hurts can make as well? What he did passing and rushing last year, it was tremendous. And I think what the most important part is, and what the most impressive thing is, it's kind of mind-blowing, is that Jalen Hurts threw it 460 times, ran it 165, and only turned the football over a total of 8 times last year. When you consider his role and importance in this offense and how often he has the ball in his hands and how often he is utilized to turn it over that little, that's damn impressive right there. Sirianni on Jalen Hurts, also so complimentary of him, quote, Jalen is maybe the most coachable person I've ever been around in my life. When a guy gets paid like Jalen Hurts did, and when he plays the most important position on the team, he immediately gets vaulted to that leadership role, which Hurts took on last year. And you want him to set an example for the rest of your football team. That's what Hurts is doing. And Sirianni isn't just saying this to say this. He means it. And we know it because of how Jalen Hurts holds himself accountable, for how he's always trying to sharpen the tools in his toolbox. He's always trying to improve upon his craft, looking for ways to get better. He's very nitpicky. What I also like is how Hurts is accountable for when he does make mistakes. And last year, there were very few of them. But when they lost, he admitted it. When he made a mistake that cost the Eagles, he talked about it. Cool, calm, and collected always. The silent assassin. I love Jalen Hurts. And then Nick Sirianni on Quez Watkins as we round things out here. He singled him out as a player who's had a phenomenal spring so far. He was asked, look, if there's one player who's impressed you the most this offseason, who is it? He said Quez Watkins. For Quez, we've seen him pop off when the pads are off in OTAs, minicamp. We've seen him pop off against other teams in these joint practices and training camp and against his own team. Covering him one-on-one is a chore because of how quick he is and the burst that he has. It's all about putting it together to be a consistent player. It's all about being reliable with your hands. And if Quez can do that, it only makes the job even better and easier for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which then that's a trickle-down effect, like trickle-down economics, right? It helps out Jalen Hurts as well. If you're still kicking it with us, go Birds! EAGLES, real one, roll call. Type real one down in the chat if you love the show because we love you right back.